company that's been in existence already, and they want you to start doing their books, what I asked them for is, first question I have for them is, when's the last time you did a tax return? And hopefully, well, it depends on if you want more business, but if they say, they did their 2022 tax return, then that would be your starting point, December 31st, 2022. So you'd start with January of this year. So let's say that is the case. Let's say they did their 2022 tax return. That means that they had numbers, whether or not they were accurate numbers or not, but they were to a point where they were willing to do a tax return based on those numbers. So there's no reason to go back, and unless they request it, unless they say that tax return's messed up, I'd like to actually have some real numbers for 2022, then you would start at the beginning of 2022. But if they're fine with the tax return they filed, then you would want to ideally see that tax return. In this case, since they don't have books, you would ask for a copy of that tax return. And then that tax return, it depends on whether or not it depends on the entity type and whether or not there's a balance sheet on that tax return, because there's certain requirements that if they meet certain levels that they have to have a balance sheet on the tax return, but if not, then there most likely won't be a balance sheet on the tax return. But what you will have is a P&L. It won't be nice and simplified like what we have in QuickBooks, because a tax return kind of bounces around, but you will have income and you'll have expenses to come down to net income. So you'll have a little information to start with. But even getting started with those books, I wouldn't worry. So let's say he did his tax return for 2022 and he's fine with it. Right away, that tells me, okay, I need to start January of this year. I don't worry about any of the past yet. I get started on January and start working January, February, start marching forward in time. And then after I get all that, I would do January up to what month are we in? September, August, end of August. I'd get that all caught up as quickly as possible. And then I would go and try to populate their balance sheet after that. And that would be done with a journal entry.